So welcome Senator Kagan, Delegate Ryan Spiegel, Delegate Julie Polakovich-Carr, and I know Delegate Vogel would like to be here but has a family commitment.
Right. You're going first. Delegate Spiegel is going to kick us off, and unfortunately, Delegate Vogel sends his very much love and best regards. He is out of town and then out of the country, but we'll talk a little bit about some of what he did. Delegate Spiegel, kick us off.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you all, Mayor and Council. Again, for the record, Delegate Ryan Spiegel. It's always a pleasure to be before you, especially as a former municipal official. Although I must say that while we deal with so many difficult and complicated issues at the state level, I don't miss zoning text amendments. But I must say I am so impressed by the engagement and the comments and the civility of the members of the public who have come here to share their thoughts with you at tonight's hearings. And so that's been really nice to see. And I'm also particularly happy to be here on a night when we were able to see our mini mayor earlier. As Mayor Ashton mentioned, the mini mayor, when she was visiting Annapolis with her family some weeks ago, and Mayor Ashton was there as well, as part of the Maryland Municipal League event to recognize all of the winners of the fourth grader If I Were Mayor essay contest. It was a great opportunity for me to meet the mini mayor and show her around Annapolis a little bit, and that was a really special treat. And she did a great job earlier this evening running the beginning of the meeting. I want to start by just mentioning that all of the members of our fantastic and unified District 17 state legislative team put out an annual end of session letter. I have brought several hard copies of my letter tonight. I know Senator Kagan has as well. I don't know. Well, you can always get Delegate Polakovich-Carr and Delegate Vogel's letters as well. And these are filled to the brim with information and analysis about the details of the policies and legislation that we undertook in Annapolis this year. And so I would encourage you and members of the public to reach out to us or to find a copy here at City Hall, because we have left a number of those. As the mayor and council know, and as some members of the public know, in December, we swore in a brand new Speaker of the House of Delegates in Maryland, Jocelyn Pena-Melnick. And she has been a dynamic leader since day one. And in recognition of the challenges with the costs of living that so many Rockville families and families across Maryland are dealing with, as well as the challenges of dealing with a federal administration that is, to put it mildly, at odds with us in terms of civil rights and protecting vulnerable communities, the Speaker put forth an agenda that focused on three priorities: affordability, accountability, and opportunity. And everything we did on the House side, and I believe pretty much everything that was done on the Senate side as well, was keyed towards these priorities to try and make life better for working Marylanders dealing with all of these challenges. And my colleagues are going to talk about some of our significant accomplishments as a legislative body on other issues like energy and childcare and elections and other priorities. But I am the member of our district delegation who serves on a budget committee. So I just want to talk a little bit about the state budget. As you know from last year, we were facing a massive $3.5 billion structural shortfall that we managed to close at the end of the 2025 legislative session. And over the summer, we felt pretty good about where we were, despite all the challenges going on in the world and in our state. But unfortunately, the federal government then, in its infinite wisdom, chose to pass something they called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, H.R. 1, which we call the Big Ugly Bill. And the ripple effects and ramifications of that bill are very serious and significant for the state of Maryland. It brings huge potential cuts and actual cuts to Medicaid funding for our state, huge cuts to SNAP funding for food security programs, and significant ramifications for our tax policy, because people don't always know this, but some state tax formulas are tied to federal tax formulas, and that means that we end up generating less revenue as a result of that. And so we faced a huge new challenge over the summer and fall, and it amounted, based on our independent analyses, to about a $1.5 billion new projected shortfall in our state budget going into the 2026 legislative session. And we worked together An appropriations committee where I serve, and in the Senate side, the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee, and really as an entire legislative body to address this challenge. And I will say, because we do see in the news media sometimes coverage of this idea that Maryland has deficits, which I will put in air quotes, we never actually have real deficits on a year-to-year basis. We always balance our budget in Maryland because under our state constitution, we are required to do so, and we do. When we talk about deficits in Maryland, really we're talking about projected future shortfalls based on what we estimate will be our revenue and what we estimate will be our typical set of expenses that we estimate we will need to make in order to meet the values and the priorities that we care about here in Maryland. But we don't ever actually have real deficits. So we got together, we worked very hard, we made some difficult cuts, but in the end, we were able to balance our budget, close that $1.5 billion gap, and continue to invest in the priorities and values that we believe in as Marylanders, with a balanced budget that does not raise any tax increases or fee increases at the state level. I want to say that again and make sure that the public hears it. No tax or fee increases this year at the state level. In fact, oh wow, applause, okay. I haven't seen that before, I appreciate it. In fact, we project that we are going to end the fiscal year with about $200 million in cash reserves. That's a surplus. And we have a $2 billion plus rainy day fund for future emergencies. So we're very, very proud of that. And we were still able to invest a record $10 billion in K through 12 public education, $2 billion in public higher education, over $400 million in rental aid relief and homeless services programs, $1.5 billion for food security programs, $14 billion for Medicaid and children's health insurance programs. And so we have really, really tried to make sure that we are reflecting our values of helping those in need, affordability, accountability, and opportunity. I want to talk separately about the capital budget, which is separate from our operating budget, and working together with this incredible team that I feel really honored to work with, Senator Kagan, Delegate Palakovich-Carr, Delegate Vogel, who, as the senator mentioned, sends his regrets. We were able to deliver in a tough budget year and a tough fiscal situation. Really what I feel very good about saying is an impressive list of capital investments for local projects to benefit the residents and businesses here in Rockville. And that includes $9.7 million to complete the new library at the Rockville campus of Montgomery College and to renovate the theater building in Montgomery College at the Rockville campus. $7.7 million for critical water and sewer projects here in Rockville. And then $325,000 for much needed improvements to the old aging pedestrian bridges at Twinbrook Park and Dogwood Park. Another $950,000 in renovations for the Ring House Senior Living Center. Something we're particularly proud of, $1.5 million for a new youth performing arts rehearsal facility in Rockville for an amazing nonprofit called Young Artists of America that really gives wonderful opportunities for our regional and local youth to experience the performing arts. Another $100,000 to develop a plan for the economic revitalization of Rockville's North Stone Street corridor. $150,000 for playground upgrades at Bell Elementary School. $350,000 for the Montgomery History Center building in downtown Rockville. $200,000 to restore and preserve the historic Lincoln High School building in Lincoln Park, which I know we've all been working on together. And an additional $350,000 that was actually a resurrected amount of money from an expired fund for the Twinbrook Recreation Center. So this is really an incredible laundry list of investments that we are going to be making as a state in the city of Rockville and its partners. And this does not even include police aid, highway user revenues, which is, of course, the state formula for transportation assistance to the city of Rockville, and many other buckets of money that are generated by funding formulas elsewhere in the budget, including $54 million in capital investments for construction projects at public schools throughout Montgomery County. So we're very, very proud of those accomplishments, and we couldn't have done it without your help without the incredible partnership that we have, not only with the mayor and council, but with your staff, with the volunteers and advocates in the city of Rockville, and all of our stakeholders and partners who showed up and advocated for these important projects and allowed us to deliver these funds. I want to also talk about immigration, because we are proud that Rockville is one of the most diverse cities, not only in the state of Maryland, but in all of America. And as we are dealing with the fallout from ICE and DHS and the Trump administration's policies, it is absolutely critical and incumbent upon us as local and state leaders to protect and support our wonderful immigrant community. And I'm proud of the fact that together, our team and our legislative body in Annapolis was able to pass another laundry list of protections and progressive policies to show that we are supporting and protecting our immigrant communities. We passed a bill to ban so-called 287G agreements, which ICE uses to essentially deputize local law enforcement. That can't happen in Maryland anymore. We passed an anti-masking law. We passed an expansion of the Maryland Values Act, which expands the type of places that are considered sensitive, protected places that it's more difficult for ICE to just kind of barge into. We passed protections on personal data that is collected and maintained by state and local governments so that it can't be shared with the federal government under inappropriate circumstances. And we passed, actually at the last moment, at the end of our 90-day legislative session, we passed the Community Trust Act, which also makes sure that we cannot misuse our corrections system and our corrections officers in a way that would violate civil rights. So we really tried to do a lot in terms of making sure that we are sending a signal to the public and to the immigrant community that we are protecting them. I just want to mention, I know I'm getting the elbow from Senator Kagan because you guys didn't give me the 3-minute clock, which is why I was surprised when you came up here with me and had to stand next to me as I spoke. But I just want to mention a couple of bills that I was a lead or co-lead sponsor on. We passed the Vulnerable Adult Banking Protection Act because of the incredible increase in consumer financial fraud that is happening, particularly targeting seniors. Delegate Pam Queen from Montgomery County and I teamed up on that. The governor is signing that bill into law tomorrow. So we're very proud of that, and residents of Rockville will be able to benefit from that as well. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful colleague, Delegate Polakovich-Carr, to talk about other priorities. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. It's great to see you all. And we'll just start with a thank you. Thank you all so much for the great advocacy and partnership throughout the session and really throughout the year, and the same to city staff as well. We really love working with the city of Rockville and the city of Gaithersburg too. It really is a great partnership with our whole delegation. So as my district mate mentioned, affordability really was a big major issue for this session, and there's a lot we could highlight on that front, but I do want to just take the bulk of my time to walk through a few areas where we really were mindful and passed meaningful legislation this session, because we know many families are struggling right now, whether they are displaced former federal workers or contractors, or simply just struggling with skyrocketing energy bills and many other day-to-day costs. So starting with energy, and I apologize, Senator Kagan, if this was going to be something in your presentation. Okay. We passed a very comprehensive piece of legislation to deal with rising electricity rates. We know families across the state, across Rockville, really are feeling that impact. This legislation does a whole lot of things, but the bottom line is that households are going to see at least $150 a year savings. Many households will see higher savings than that. I think the bottom line on the energy front for folks to realize is that as more data centers are being built, not just here in Maryland, but especially in Virginia and other states in our region, it really is having a large impact on our electricity grid, and that is a big reason for the escalating energy costs. But we took a number of actions on that front, which I won't take the time to unpack. What was probably one of the longest bills that we passed this session. Let me move on to childcare. I think you know that for the last 3 years, I chaired the Early Childhood Subcommittee in the House, and under our new speaker, Jocelyn Payton-Melnick, I have a new subcommittee assignment. I now chair the Revenue Subcommittee, but remain very active on childcare. Childcare continues to be an area where many families are struggling as well. For folks who don't have little kids at home anymore, I think many people are surprised to know that the cost of having an infant or toddler in childcare is more than sending a child to University of Maryland College Park. And of course, you have no time to save for that, right? When you have a baby or a toddler. We have a great program in Maryland, the Child Care Scholarship Program, that helps working middle-income and low-income families to get their children and infants into high-quality childcare. That program has received a record amount of funding last year, and thanks again this year to the work of the legislature and Governor Moore, that is true. But unfortunately, there doesn't quite meet the demand, or the demand exceeds the funding in the program. And so we've had a partial freeze in enrollment in that program since last summer. And there are more than 5,000 children who are otherwise eligible to receive a child care scholarship, but who are waiting on this wait list, sometimes for months at a time. So we took pretty substantive action this session on that front. In spite of it being a very difficult budget year, we did identify and allocate an additional $20 million for this program to bring about 1,000 children off of the wait list. And then we also passed a pair of bills, one of which I was the sponsor of, to make some structural changes to that program to really ensure its longer-term financial viability. So the net result of that is about 3,700 kids are going to be able to come off the wait list in the coming months, and it really is going to be very meaningful for those families. Let me also touch on another point on affordability in the education space, but at the higher ed side of things, many Maryland borrowers who have student loans from college are struggling in the midst of some changes at the federal level. And without going into kind of the technical details and all of that, I'll just say we have a great tax credit here in Maryland, the Student Loan Debt Relief Tax Credit. That's an existing program. It's out there right now. If you have unpaid college loans that you need some help with, you may be eligible for this tax credit. We made some meaningful changes to that program this session so that borrowers who are caught up in kind of the federal mess can continue to take advantage of that tax credit and have a little more flexibility. Moving on to the housing front, I want to very much thank the mayor and council, thank the city for your continued partnership on the legislation I've sponsored now for 2 years, along with Delegate Vaughn Stewart from our neighboring district, to prohibit landlords from using very sophisticated software to basically illegally collude to set occupancy rates, to set rents. Unfortunately, that bill did not move again this session. Some of the changes that happened with new leadership in the House is that legislation now is in a different committee. I think we had a very good educational hearing on that front this year, and we have a commitment from House leadership to continue to work on that issue over the interim. So I'm hoping to see some progress so that next session we really are in a good position to move forward. I'll also give a shout out for a piece of legislation that Delegate Vogel sponsored this session to protect renters from junk fees. His legislation did pass the House and really would have meant, some meaningful transparency for renters before they're signing their leases and then not caught off guard with fees for trash or pets or for whatever else. That legislation didn't make it through the Senate this year, but we were pleased to pass that out of the House, and I think he'll be coming back with that, hopefully. And then the last piece of legislation I'll just end with, again, always appreciate the partnership from the city on roadway safety. Very pleased that our local legislation to allow Rockville and Gaithersburg to potentially use stop sign cameras is going to be signed into law tomorrow by the governor. So appreciate your advocacy on that front for the public. This is just the beginning of the process. This is just an authorization that would allow the municipality to put automated cameras in school zones for safety reasons at intersections that have a stop sign. Hopeful that you all will, as you go through the public process on that'll come to a favorable outcome, but always, of course, happy to work with you on that. And now we'll turn it over to Senator Kagan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Rockville and Gaithersburg, and great to see all of you here in person. Before I start, I just want to thank my staff. My chief of staff, Abril Hunter, is here, and Amy Garmer, who was, unfortunately for her, but luckily for us, laid off by the Elon Musk craziness, and so she worked on my team this session, and we got a lot done, and they're both here tonight. And Amy is a Rockville resident. So grateful to them both. I also want to give a shout out, in case she's watching, to former council member Beryl Feinberg, because we know that she's facing some health challenges, and I'm going to miss her thoughtful questions after our presentation. I also want to thank Christine Crone is here, Jeff Mihalik, Linda, Sarah, and everyone else who partners with us in addition to you all. And just to make sure I don't forget stuff, and because it's a little fun, quick PowerPoint running through some of what we did. You all have seen in the press a lot about redistricting. We did not choose to do it in the Senate. Is someone else doing this? Because I'm doing this. Okay. Okay, this is very sensitive. I'm on it. Okay, the House chose to do redistricting. The Senate did not. It continues to be a point of contention. We'll see what happens. Both my colleagues have referenced a new speaker. She's fantastic, and it's a whole new energy and partnership now. My committee, I'm vice chair. There are only 4 committees in the Senate. That's 4 chairs and 4 vice chairs. I'm very lucky to work with Brian Feldman as my chair, and we have more bills in our committee than any others in the entire General Assembly. So we are always very busy, and you'll see EEE up there. That's my committee. Energy, Education, Energy, and the Environment, and I always say, and elections. Sarah always appreciates that. Working across the aisle isn't always possible in a Trump administration, but when possible, and this is a wonderful Republican colleague that I will miss a lot, who's retiring. A lot of what Delegate Spiegel talked about with ICE and other challenges. We passed an emergency bill dealing with education, with elections. The Trump administration is talking about not letting people's ballots be counted. And if you're in the military and you're serving overseas, Maryland is one of 15 states that says, as long as it's postmarked by Election Day, we are going to count your ballot. So we affirmed that, strengthened that, and that is being signed into law tomorrow. We also, you may notice, Sergeant Aquilino Gunnell and Harry Dunn, 2 of the January 6th heroes from the insurrection, they came and joined me to testify. I believe, and every Democratic senator co-sponsored, I believe that anyone who was convicted of a crime related to the January 6, 2021 election should not get the privilege of serving on a gubernatorial appointed state commission, board, work group, task force, anything. And yes, I know most folks were pardoned. They were still convicted. And so we'll see if that happens down the road. But it was a great educational opportunity for people. Public safety is always a big thing. And I will give a shout out to Delegate Joe Vogel, who worked with me on my 911 bill. You all know that I've been working on 911 for 12 years now, working in Carl Henn's memory. Rockville's a wonderful leader and former council candidate, and we have passed a lot of legislation, and this year we are looking to increase the retirement benefits for our 911 specialists, the dedicated, courageous women and men under the headset. The budget, Delegate, I don't know that this is someone else doing this? Yeah, okay. That's the chair of the Budget and Taxation Committee. Delegate Spiegel carried that very well, so I'm not going to spend more time on that. Just before session, we brought back a bunch of money for student mental health in Montgomery County. I'm going to say 988, because no matter how often we talk about it, it's astonishing how many people don't know about it. Everyone is taught about 911 from the youngest age. 988 is the suicide and mental health crisis lifeline. Please, if you are listening, if you are within the sound of my voice, if you're a city staff and can help continue to push this out, so many people are unaware, and people taking their own lives is just a tragedy, a horrible tragedy that we should work to avoid. After many years, the General Assembly did pass a bill to lock up phones during the school day, with some exceptions for students who have needs for that, but that will be good for mental health as well. One of the issues that didn't get a lot of attention, and I talked about it in context of Wooten, actually. Wooten needed capital improvements and didn't get them in time. And there are a lot of reasons, and I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, but Thursday night, before we adjourned on Monday at midnight, right before adjournment, there was a new program, a new proposal of $5 million. It came in as $40 million. It got trimmed down to $5 million of funding for charter school improvement, capital improvement. And they don't have to wait in line the way traditional public schools had to, the way Wooten had to. They just get to have an access to $5 million. And as you all know, in Montgomery County, there is or was one charter school. It opened this calendar year and is already closing. They could have been eligible for funding. So I was able to amend the bill to make sure that there are some guardrails, some oversight, some accountability before they get the money. And I think it's just the beginning. But it was kind of a one-person crusade, and we got it passed, which is great. Nonprofits. I am often described as the senator for the nonprofit sector. I had 4 bills for the nonprofit sector this year. Another one of those is being signed tomorrow. And we continue to work for this too invisible sector. There are more than 41,000 nonprofits in Maryland. They make up about 12 to 15% of our workforce and our economy. And people say, we've got to help the small businesses, which is true. And I always say, and nonprofits. One of the bills that we finally got through after passing this in the Senate 5 times, we passed my green bill. And Delegate Polakovich-Carr is dressed appropriately. There we go, and Delegate Spiegel. Green is the green and renewable energy and efficiency for nonprofit organization. I've talked about it here for too many years. It's a revolving loan fund for nonprofits to be able to show up with just 10% of the cost of solar panels or insulation improvement or something, and there will be interest-free, creating those opportunities. It's about time, and it is in the utility bill that Delegate Spiegel already talked about. That Delegate Polakovich-Carr talked about. They both said so many important things. I had to put a picture up of our own beloved Delegate Kumar Barve, who is now, has been elevated by the governor to not just be on the Public Service Commission, but chair the Public Service Commission. He still lives in Rockville Town Center, and he is immersed in all of these policies. Public safety has been discussed a little. That's my former Senate colleague, who's now the chief of the Maryland State Police. 911 specialist, I already referenced, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work on those. My top priority bill, and I'm really excited, is also being signed into law tomorrow. One of my 6 bills that's being signed tomorrow is creating a statewide 311 system using artificial intelligence to lighten the load on our 911 centers. The Baltimore Sun discovered that more than 80% of the calls into Baltimore City's 911 centers were not for emergencies. And people learned that they should call 911 if they have a problem, and they don't know where else to go. So literally, when it's, what time's the library close, or where can I get a flu shot, or there's a loud party next door, they don't know where to call. So Montgomery County is one of only 6 jurisdictions that has 311. We're going to go statewide, and Maryland will be the very first state in the country with a statewide 311. So we're blazing a path, and I'm really proud of that. We're starting big. Local leaders are key. That's our county and municipal partners. You guys probably know Craig Maloney, a Rockville resident who came to me years ago with a complaint about architects. And this year, we finally came up with the right solution, and that consumer protection bill is being signed into law. Has already been signed into law. Was signed in, and I couldn't be there. Affordable housing has already been discussed, always something that we think about, part of economic development. Sarah, elections. We got a couple of election bills passed, including how often are you voting down the ticket and you get to the ballot measures and you have no idea what it's asking you to figure out. So we are requiring plain English, no jargon, no legalese, no double negatives, no passive voice. And we've been working on it for years. That is being signed into law tomorrow. Faithless electors. So for members of the Electoral College who are intimidated or changed their mind or whatever, they will be fired and replaced. A third election bill that's also being signed tomorrow is about keeping our polling places safe. allowing better security, better oversight and enforcement so that people feel secure when they go to vote. There's more, too. Ranked choice voting, I will tell you, is being added tomorrow in a bill, being added to our law books finally for the first time. So we are making progress as Rockville, Gaithersburg, Greenbelt, Annapolis, Frederick, and many others are considering implementing ranked choice voting. The state will be ready for you. Transparency, I've been working for so many years with Delegate Mark Corman. Each year we make good progress. Sadly, at midnight, the bill that I had in my hand died, but we'll bring it back. We'll pass it early next year. So we think government that operates in sunlight is the best kind of government. Healthcare, among the healthcare bills was over-the-counter contraception for our college kids to make sure that we know what they need and how they're using it to make sure we're providing good choices and good healthcare. Nancy Pelosi spent the day in Annapolis, and the women legislators just celebrated her, so I had to put her in this. And with the president of the Senate, during Women's History Month, he really showcased all the amazing work that my colleagues and I are doing. I was proud to be the Senate sponsor of a bill strengthening our conversion therapy law in Maryland. We passed it in 2018, but in light of the Supreme Court decision, we came back with something really strong. We're going to keep working on it. The Speaker and the President are supportive, so hopefully next year, when we have more time and it's not an election year, we think we can move that next year. Just a couple more things. Anti-Semitism is something that keeps showing up in Rockville and around the state. We've got to fight it. No kind of hate. Islamophobia, homophobia, we just have to do better. People with disabilities always are on our minds. It was a hard year in the budget, but maybe when times are better, we'll be able to continue our support or expand our support. I am the one senator on the Maryland State Arts Council and had a bill protecting artists, and we're going to keep working on that. We had the diplomats, the ambassadors from Romania and Taiwan among the leaders who came to visit us. Obviously, I had to put something up with our beloved Jamie Raskin, who shows up and is partnering with us on so many issues. Young people, anyone watching, you can be a high school page. We never get people from Rockville or Gaithersburg. So high school students, we'd love to have you come down and serve as a high school page in the Senate, in the House. Maryland Day with the Senate President, we're almost done. Shadows, I've had some wonderful constituents and friends come down and follow me around, learn about what it's like. Councilmember Jackson came down and spent the day with me last year. That was way fun. And again, I had to put a picture with Joe Vogel, even though Delegate Vogel isn't here. The four of us are so lucky to be able to work together. And this is, Ryan already talked about Young Artists of America. Very excited. This opportunity is on the rear side of Congressional Plaza. Great opportunity for high school students. The bridges that we got funding for, thank you for taking us on a site visit. We think those are meritorious. And there's so many things. Delegate Spiegel read a bunch of things on the list, and it's a long list, as you can see. Look who's there. My podcast, Kibitzing with Kagan. Brief conversations with people I find fascinating. Certainly our mayor is fascinating. It's also nonprofit leaders, government leaders, and community folks, even Scrabble and music. So check that out. Hometown Holidays is coming up Memorial Day weekend. The parade is on Monday. I pledge not to break my elbow or fall on the stage this year. That's my big commitment. Yeah. But I am having it cut open again, taking the metal out. Gaithersburg Book Festival this Saturday, so definitely check that out. That's always really fun. All four of us distribute senatorial and delegate scholarships. I give away tens of thousands of dollars. My deadline is a week from today at 5 o'clock. No late applications will be accepted, no artificial intelligence. Go online, cherylkagan.org. Please spread the word. I want great applications. I have a volunteer senatorial scholarship selection committee who helps guide the selections. They help us score and rank anonymously, so there's no bias in any of it. And then we give out a lot of money. And my colleagues also have. All over social media, you can check those out, all over the place. And this is an election year. And in mostly Democratic Montgomery County, the primary election day is the election. So waiting until November is not okay. In Maryland, we have what's called closed primaries. That means if you're not a Democrat or you're not a Republican, if you are unaffiliated, as almost 1 million Marylanders are, you go to show up in the primary and you are given a ballot for school board. And that's it. And school board's really important, but you also need to vote for attorney general and comptroller and senator and delegate and county executive. We're getting a new county executive, bunch of new county council members, including in our district here. So please, please, please do your homework. Make sure you are registered and affiliated so you can cast a full ballot. And if you did not get the mailer by email, my 8-page wrap-up, my staff and I spent a lot of time folding them and getting them to you. The post office took their sweet time getting them to you. Literally, it took about 2 weeks to get them from Annapolis to Rockville and Gaithersburg, but you should all have them. I know, crazy. So happy to take questions, and thank you for your attention.
First of all, thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate all of your work. I know many of us had a chance to visit you in the flesh in Annapolis a couple of times.
Yeah.
And what I can tell you all is they work very hard. I've seen meetings happening until 10 midnight, and it is a 90-day sprint. It feels like you have finals every day.
To anyone who thinks that the rest of the year, they say, what do you do the rest of the year when the Senate isn't in session? We're in the community, we're here, we're at ribbon cuttings and public safety events and working on our legislation for next year, serving on boards and commissions. We are everywhere, and it is a very year-round job. So,
Thank you.
Questions?
I will just also note that we have a very good working relationship with our state delegation. I know many of us contact you all and are able to get support and stay in communication. I think it has been growing stronger and stronger, and greatly appreciate all that you do on behalf of Rockville and Gaithersburg. We'll give them a shout out too. I have a couple quick comments. You noted the rent algorithms as well as the junk fees. We are going to be taking that on in Rockville. So wanted to flag that to your attention. We meet on the landlord-tenant code next week. So stay tuned, and thank you for your state work on that. I want to thank you for raising the 988. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. It is serious. And people who need help on mental health, you don't have to have a defined disorder. You could just not be feeling well that day. And so reaching out to get support, get resources, there is no judgment. People will keep it confidential. I want to really encourage people to do that. Thank you for mentioning that you're going to be ranked choice voting ready. I know there's a year tied to that. Isn't that correct? Of when the machines will be ready?
what we passed is about municipal elections and municipal special elections. So we are taking a step at a time, and nothing is about mandating. It's if a municipality chooses to look at ranked choice voting, the state needs to be ready for it. And the hardware and software need to be RCV compliant, and we are reassured that it will be.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I know that when you came last year, we asked you about that. So
Yep. One step at a time.
thank you very much. And also want to thank you so much for the scholarships you provide to many of our residents. Dr. Miles and I met today with someone who graduated college and is starting his own nonprofit to give back, and he got those scholarships. So it really does help people make it through, and it was meaningful to hear about the impact it had on someone's life directly. And you guys talked about a lot of bills. Just for the residents who are listening, how could they find out about what passed if they wanted to get a list to track? Because there are many new laws and updates.
Do you want to? I'll do it. You do it.
Yeah, I'll say in general, I think all of us have our end of session letter either on our websites or you could email our offices to get a copy. But, if a resident has a particular issue that they're interested in and just want to get a synopsis, they're welcome to email any of our offices and we can help them point them in the right direction.
I'll just add that the state legislature has a great website. It may take a few seconds to sort of get comfortable with it after you're surfing around and clicking around on it, but you can look up any bill by topic, by bill number, and at the top of the page, once the bill pops up, as the mayor and council know full well, because I know you do this a lot, there is a timeline, and it's in real time. It will tell you where the bill is and how far it got. And it will tell you, did it stop in committee and never make it out of committee, or did it pass the House and not make it through the Senate, or vice versa, or was it signed by the governor into law? And I would encourage folks to take a look at our state legislature's really good website.
Excellent.
And one more thing I'd add is if you have any suggestions, if you've got ideas for legislation, the example I gave with Craig Maloney and the Architecture Board, which is now going to be given new enforcement capacity and a confidential portal and all that, and that was because of his contacting me. So please feel free to reach out to us. We're curious to know what's on your mind.
Thank you. And I know that timeline is moving up for you all. So I would imagine if you want to hear those kinds of ideas this summer, not during session,
Oh, gosh, yes.
because you're already filing your bill. So just wanted to flag that, because I know that happens and people requested things.
Yes. Sooner is definitely better than later.
And I will say thank you for working to protect our values and our people, from immigration to childcare and our schools, and public safety. We're looking forward to more of the work that you're doing. And thank you for the money. Really appreciate it. I'm going to just ask my colleagues if they have some brief questions. Councilmember Valeri.
Hi. Thank you. I'll ditto everything the mayor said to keep it quick, but not that I don't care about each and every one of you. But I wanted to note on the statewide 311, Senator Kagan, and thank you for that. I think it's awesome. I just want to flag, and I think I mentioned this in a previous briefing that you gave us, that sometimes when Rockville residents call Montgomery County 311, they're told just to call City Hall, and they're not actually given any information. So just wanted to flag that is maybe if there's guardrails there as well. I don't know if that's a training thing or something, but
My chief of staff is already taking notes,
Okay.
as am I. We're on it.
it's very frustrating, and I've experienced it as well myself. Where actually, then I called. This was before I got elected, before any of us were here. I was then told, "Oh, you live in Twin Brook? You are in the county." I was like, "Well, actually, I'm in the city of Rockville, but thank you." I also wanted to note and thank you for mentioning 988, and thank you to the mayor. You can text 988 as well, and so if you don't feel like talking to humans on the phone, and not everybody does, and especially when you are in need of assistance, you can text and also get that help. So thank you for mentioning it, and thank you, as always, for all the support for the community.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So on behalf of Dr. Miles, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick follow-up question. The specifics of the scholarships, I think each one of your office offers. Is there an age requirement, minimum, maximum? Just putting it out there for the listening public.
Thank you for asking. All the information can be found on our websites, but we all do it a little differently. We also all have different deadlines. So I mentioned that mine is a week from today at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, not 5:15, 5 o'clock. And Amy's going to slam the door closed, and that'll be it. But others, I think Delegate Vogel's is another week or so later. And yours
are open still.
Three of us are still open.
So definitely do your homework. A senatorial scholarship, and not to brag, but just to be clear, repeat. And ours is not a one-time grant, but it's for your whole 4-year career. And it's undergraduate or graduate. And we each craft them our own ways. And we each have budgets, but it's a lot. People should really apply. Thank you for the question.
And just to make clear for the public, if you're going to Montgomery College, that's eligible. Certain trade schools in Maryland, that is also eligible. Undergraduate, graduate, as was mentioned. Even if you're taking online courses at an out-of-state school, that might also be eligible. You have to fill out some additional paperwork, but there really is a lot of flexibility with them. So folks should look into it.
Apply to the scholarships, everyone. I know it's graduation season, so. On behalf of my colleagues and I, we wanted to actually do a little special thank you today. I know we had initially, we don't do this every year, but we know that this is an important time. And we wanted to just read something to you all, if you don't mind. But we want to honor the work that you're doing and saying, whereas the Maryland State District 17 delegation is Senator Cheryl Kagan, Delegate Julie Polakovich-Carr, Delegate Ryan Spiegel, and Delegate Joe Vogel. And whereas the Mayor and Council of the City of Rockville do hereby extend the sincere appreciation and recognition of the D17 delegation for their steadfast advocacy and continued support of the City of Rockville and its residents. Whereas the City of Rockville is very fortunate to be able to be represented by such a dedicated delegation whose leadership and commitment have advanced the city's 2026 state legislative priorities. And whereas in particular we are grateful and acknowledge your successful efforts in securing $325,000 in LBI's legislative bond initiatives for the Twinbrook Park and Dogwood Park and many more through the years. And whereas these critical infrastructure projects directly support Mayor and Council's Vision Zero initiative and advance the shared city and state goals, the improvements will enhance safe access for pedestrians, cyclists, individuals of all abilities to key community destinations, including parks, schools, recreation facilities, and transit. And whereas the replacement of these bridges at Twinbrook Park and Dogwood Park will provide safer, more reliable connections. Whereas the multi-year effort to modernize communications through 911, as well as, and we have specific roles for each of you in terms of your work through the year, so I won't go through all of those, but just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for your dedication, for your hard work, and for making us proud.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
What an honor. Thank you. Aren't you glad we only do this once a year so you don't go past midnight? Aw. Framed in.
Okay. You can look at Amy's first. All right, go ahead, Amy.
All in there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Right.
Yes. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.